We know the lockdowns can only do so much. The only roadmap out of this is through vaccinations. Now, I feel like the leadership has been so confused on this. It's going to have to come from businesses and us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the business leaders are doing the right thing by saying, you want to come back to work, you want to get this economy off the ground, then you need to be vaccinated. It will take literally months. It will take 5 to 6 months to achieve the absolute bare minimum to get us out of lockdown, which is absolutely ridiculous. We need 80% of us to be vaccinated. So I think if this push comes from, the biggest drivers of our economy, then I think this is a great idea.
We've got such a long way to go, don't we, Tom? I mean, our national vaccination rates are still hovering around the 14% mark. Some states, doing better than others. But we're waiting for around 80% before reopening. If that's the case, then it could take a long time. Is restricting people from working the way to go about it?
I think it's sort of a last resort as I see it. Ideally, you want people to have a say whether they put a needle in their body, and ideally you can convince them with the data that this is the right way to go and the only way for us to move forward. So there's plenty of things we can do before forcing people to get the jab before they go to work. Work is an absolute necessity. It totally makes sense if you want to do something that's a bit more of a luxury, like getting on a plane to force people. It also has its own set of risk factors, getting on a plane. But at work, it's not ideal, but I think we might end up having to get to that point if our rates aren't high enough.
Why are we scared, Tom, of the word mandate in this country? Why aren't we mandating mask wearing or mandate in lockdowns? Why don't we mandate vaccines?
I think it makes people pretty uncomfortable. People like to believe we live in a
What is our option anymore? We're like so far away, 14%. We want to get 18%. The country's been locked down for 18 months off and on. What are our options?
Yeah, but the main reason for that is supply. It's not because people aren't getting vaccinated. There's millions of people that want to get vaccinated. So that's why I say there's many other things we should do first before we force people to get the jab before they go to work. And supply is obviously the first one, which thankfully is starting to sort of get up to speed.
Then you think about the passport and you kind of think, if you have had the vaccine, like at what point even, can you let those people return to work, Carla?
Yeah, I mean, the travel thing is absolutely imperative. Like if you want to go to Bali and get your bintang singlet, then you need to be vaccinated. That makes sense. That we need the world to open up. I want to go see my family that are overseas. I've got my mum who's not getting any younger, who's trapped overseas. And I think in business, in travel, it is all the same thing. I think if we need to move forward, I think we just got incredibly lazy. We got so Aussie about this situation. We sat on our backsides because we were the lucky country for the last 18 months. And all of a sudden now, because we're in lockdown and it's hit the people in the hip pocket, and they're the big businesses, they're the people that are, going out, we're trying to earn a living. We can't. Now it's put some, rocket up us. That's the imperative. That's the impetus that's made us move forward. And I think when you say, it has to be mandated, we all have this notion that we have this free will and we're this, we are this lucky country, and I don't want you to impede on my rights. Your right is to function, to be healthy, to normal, to contribute to society, whatever it might be. It's not a mandate. It was so much better when there wasn't such thing as the internet, and it was the Spanish flu, it was the 20s, and we were all compliant and we worked together. That thing got eradicated within 2-3 years. And it was still around. We just learned to live with it. I think we're just so scared because of the miscommunication from the get-go.
Tom, do you think Qantas wants us to open up? Do you think we can?
Well, it's going to take at least till the end of this year, but we're seeing other countries around the world doing really well. I think the UK example, it really scared people when they took those final steps of opening up a couple of weeks ago, but their vaccine rate is around 70% for both doses. And they've seen their case numbers dropping, and the deaths are a small fraction of what they were in their last wave at the peak of winter. And they're starting to travel in between the US and the UK quarantine-free if they've been vaccinated. So it is going to happen. We are going to get there. I can, give you that hope. I really believe that we're just a few months behind. So I'm thinking early next year or middle of next year if we can follow the trajectory of those other countries.
In the meantime, we all just sit in a holding pattern waiting. Carla and Tom, stay with us. When we come back, the Aussie artists calling on big businesses to support our struggling music industry. Well, welcome back. This next story is music to our ears. Musician Jack River has launched a campaign overnight urging Aussies to support local artists, calling on the Olympics, Coles, Woolies, Aldi, Banks, all ads on TV to play only Aussie tracks for the next few months.
Yeah, Karl and Tom Tilley are still here to discuss this. Karl, to you first. I mean, this industry has been so badly hit, all tours starting and stopping. I mean, these artists, particularly the younger artists that are trying to get out there, they've lost 15, 18 months of work and work on their career. They deserve to have this music put out there.
Yeah, I mean, it is a great initiative, and I understand that, you know, the arts and musicians and everyone involved in creative arts have been so hard hit during this time. I think it's a little bit silly to think that perhaps all of the Olympics would play only Aussie anthems, although for Daryl Braithwaite, when the equestrian's on, Horses is going to get played way many times. I think that's great. Anything to support, you know, local, buy local, local artists, whatever it is a great thing. I don't think anyone would argue with that, but I don't know. I mean, there's just something about hearing that Rocky anthem at the end of someone getting on a podium that's pretty exciting. I don't know.
I mean, to me, it just makes sense. You know, Aussies celebrating other Aussies. And it's this campaign, Tom, it's receiving massive support from other musos, of course. But we've got to get the big banks and the supermarkets on board.
Yeah, well, I think the Olympics is a great starting point, and I think Jack River really kind of got the tone of this right. She wasn't completely raking them over the coals. She wanted to collaborate, and that's why you saw Channel 7 respond in such a positive way. So it really galvanised. Like when you see, you know, some of these amazing athletes like Ariane Titmus, if you're playing that sort of victory montage to an Australian tune, I think there's a great kind of resonance there. And so hopefully, you know, the other corporates can feel that energy, channel that and use it in their ads as well and send some money these ways. I got heaps of friends in the music industry and they're still hurting. They move between sadness and anger, you know, when they see the Queensland government going to such lengths to bring in the rugby league teams and then shut the border the day afterwards while they can't even play a show. It just infuriates them. They've been hurt so much while so many other sectors have got so much more support. So I think this is great. You know, yeah, maybe not all Australian music. We would still want to hear, you know, tunes like The Final Countdown at the right moment during the Olympics, but certainly a massive majority, and hopefully it flows on to the corporate scene.
Nah, stuff it. Stuff it. I don't want to hear The Final Countdown.
No.
I'd rather hear Horses. I'd rather hear a Jack River song.
Spirit,
I'd rather hear anything.
Aussie.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuff it.
Like I
Europe
said,
have enough money.
No, anything to support local is great, but you know what? It's the Olympics. It's about bringing the world together. Like, what is this parochialism? Why are
I'm
we
not
like
talking
trying
about
to
putting it on
divide and
NBC,
conquer?
Carla. I'm talking about putting it on our own network here.
I mean, look, it is great, but it is about a global community coming together. It's the Olympics. We're all from somewhere else. Why can't we embrace everything? It just can't be one.
Stuff 'em.
David. Fine,
Green and gold all
Just
the
like
way.
poking Carla. It's fun. You're not here, Carla. I've got to get you somehow. Good to see you guys. Have a great weekend.